The sharp rap of knuckles against my front door was the kind of knock that demanded immediate attention aloud, aggressive, and echoing through my cabin like a drum of authority. It was the kind of knock you'd expect if you were on the run from the law, but I wasn't. I had nothing to hide. So when I opened the door and saw two men in dark uniforms with shiny police badges clipped to their chests, I should have felt relief. Instead, my gut twisted. Something was off, sir. Step outside.
Out.
Arrest for multiple violations against the Homeowners Association bylaws? The taller one barked, his voice dripping with forced confidence. HOA bylaws? Arrest? My eyes scanned them quickly. Their uniforms were mismatched. Their belts carried dollar store flashlights instead of proper gear, and the badges looked like cheap replicas. But the arrogance in their stance made it clear they thought they could intimidate me. Unfortunately for them, I wasn't just another cabin owner on this lake. I was Chief Samuel, right chief of police for this entire county. The HOA in our neighborhood had always been a thorn in everyone's side. They bullied, threatened, and fined residents for absurd reasons: grass too tall, fence painted the wrong shade of white, or, in my case, daring to park my patrol SUV in my own driveway. They hated that I lived here because I didn't bend to their fake authority, and my badge meant their harassment carried no real weight. But this? Sending fake cops to arrest me? That wasn't just harassment, it was criminal impersonation, and I wasn't about to let it slide. I crossed my arms, leaned casually against the doorframe, and asked, "You boys got a warrant?" The shorter one, clearly nervous, shoved a piece of paper at me. I took it, glanced once, and almost laughed. It was a printout from the HOA's newsletter with the words, "Notice of arrest" typed across the top in Comic Sans. No signatures, no court seal. Not even close to legal. "You've got to be kidding me," I said, handing it back. "You think this is funny?" The tall one snarled. "If you don't comply, we'll drag you out in cuffs." "Cuffs, huh?" Smiled, stepped inside, and returned holding my own pair of stainless steel handcuffs. "Funny, I've got some too. Only difference? Mine are real." The bravado faltered. "Look," the shorter one said quickly. "The HOA has authority here. You broke rules. You can't park a government vehicle on private property. You can't hang your flag at that height. You ignored citations. We've been ordered to arrest you." I couldn't believe the audacity. Ordered by who? Your HOA president? Because unless she was elected sheriff and I missed the memo, you two are about 2 seconds away from felony charges? The tall one stepped forward, puffing his chest. "Listen, buddy," I cut him off. My voice dropped into that tone that has made hardened criminals freeze mid-swing. "Oh, you listen. You're impersonating law enforcement. You're trespassing. You're attempting unlawful detainment. You've got about 5 seconds to get off my property before I stop treating this like a joke." They exchanged nervous glances. For a moment I thought they'd run. But arrogance is a dangerous drug. Instead, the tall one reached for a pair of plastic cuffs hanging from his belt. That's when I decided playtime was over. I yanked open the door fully, revealing my full uniform, yes, the badge, the sidearm, the radio. Their faces drained of color. "You idiots tried to arrest the chief of police," the short one stammered. We didn't know. Didn't know." I stepped forward, forcing them to backpedal down my porch. "If you had the brains of a squirrel, you'd know you can't just slap on a fake badge and call yourself a cop. You've committed a felony tonight, both of you. And now you're going to explain exactly who sent you." The tall one swallowed hard. His bravado cracked. "It was Mrs. Carlisle, the HOA president. She said you were a problem for the community. She said we could handle it discreetly. She gave us these uniforms. Of course it was her. Karen Carlisle, the queen bee of the HOA. She had been gunning for me since the day I moved in. She hated authority she couldn't control. Nothing irked her more than having the actual chief of police refuse to bow to her made-up rules. I cuffed both men, read them their rights, and radioed for backup. Within minutes, 2 real officers, my officers, pulled into my driveway. The looks on those imposters' faces when they realized their night of intimidation had turned into an arrest record. Priceless. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The confrontation with the APA next morning, I marched into the HOA clubhouse, still in uniform. The board was mid-meeting, sipping coffee and gossiping like nothing had happened. Carlyle sat at the head of the table, her pearls gleaming, her smile smug. "Chief Wright," she said sweetly. "We weren't expecting you." "Oh, I'm sure you weren't," I replied, tossing the fake warrant onto the table. "Recognize this?" Her smile faltered. "Bet. That's official HOA documentation." "No," I snapped. "That's evidence in a criminal investigation. Your little stunt last night, sending imposters to arrest me? That's conspiracy, impersonation of law enforcement, and attempted kidnapping. Care to explain yourself?" The room went silent. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Carlyle's face flushed red. "You've been a nuisance since you moved here," she hissed. "Parking your police vehicle, intimidating neighbors with that uniform, refusing to follow community rules. Someone had to take action." I leaned across the table, locking eyes with her. "You don't get to rewrite the law, Carlyle. If you think your HOA bylaws override state law, you're delusional. You crossed the line. Now you'll answer for it." Within a week, Carlyle was under investigation. Flipped quickly, giving detailed statements about her orders, the money she paid them, and how she bragged that even the chief wouldn't dare fight the HOA. But I did fight. The DA's office pressed charge impersonation of a peace officer. It's conspiracy to commit unlawful detainment and harassment. The case made headlines across the county. For the first time, residents saw the iron grip of the HOA for what it really was: abuse of power. Carlyle tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but no jury was buying it. The men she sent were convicted, given probation, and ordered community service. Carlyle herself faced heavier penalties, fines, removal from the HOA board, and a permanent stain on her reputation. What surprised me most wasn't her downfall. What was the reaction of my neighbors? For years, people had whispered about the HOA's tactics, but were too afraid to speak out. Now, with their queen exposed, they found their voices. Dozens showed up at the next meeting demanding reforms. Rules were rewritten, power was stripped from the board, fines were reversed, the stranglehold was broken, and me. I kept parking my SUV in the driveway, flag flying proudly above my cabin. Only this time, instead of glares and whispered threats, I got waves, smiles, and thank yous from the very people who used to keep their heads down. Sometimes bullies wear pearls instead of leather jackets. Sometimes they hide behind bylaws instead of baseball bats. But power built on fear is fragile. The moment you stand up to it, the moment you refuse to play by their false rules, it all crumbles. The HOA thought they could send fake officers to intimidate me. They thought they could scare me into submission. Instead, they learned the hard way. I don't answer to them. I am the law. And in my county, justice always wins.